Growing up in the 90s, it's not so often that we got a movie based on a popular video game franchise, and the concept of discipline was still a thing to build courage and strength. It's time to take an 80s arcade story and toss it onto the big screen. Double Dragon was released in 1994 as it was a quote-unquote based on the popular video game franchise, Double Dragon. As gamers were excited to see this iconic name in the theaters, whether you played it in the arcades or at home on the NES, what could possibly go wrong? Well, for starters, the story is somewhat good but very strange. It takes place in LA, but it's now called New Angeles after a massive earthquake destroyed its infrastructure. The city is filled with smog and acid rain, which is unique, and due to its new atmosphere, gangs such as the Mohawks have overtaken the streets, causing New Angeles to have a curfew since they made a pact with the police department to avoid being a nuisance throughout the day. Kinda bizarre, don't you think? We're then introduced to our heroes, both Billy and Jimmy Lee, whom are martial artists under the guidance of their mother figure, Satori, who all live inside an abandoned theater. Sadly, none of these two characters were strong enough to carry the film as they didn't leave any sort of impact or growth. Billy Lee is a tempered brother and Jimmy Lee is more of the level-headed one, but goofy to an extent. Legend has it that there's a powerful medallion called the Double Dragon, which was split into two, as one piece is under the possession of Satori, and the other being in the hands of Koga Shuko, a powerful crime lord and businessman. And this guy just looks like a cliche. I don't know how else to describe it. Something about him just annoys me whenever he's on screen. But anyways, the movie shows us both sides trying to obtain each of the medallion, as it contains the great powers of strength, souls, and shadows. The movie does provide a familiar name from the games like Bo Abobo, but he looks like a bloated pimple instead of a muscular goon, and it does contain some type of emotions when Satori sacrifices herself to save her sons. But aside from that, there's only two memorable fights, which is the boat chase scene by the docks and the end battle, which I'll get to a little bit later. There's also this girl named Marion who's not only the daughter of the chief of police that has his own agendas to stop the violence, but also the leader of the resistance group called the Power Corps, and their base is interesting. It has pools, arcades, swings, and just looks like an indoor playground with its vibrant colors. Watching both brothers thirst over Marion is quite funny despite becoming a useful ally. She also feels like a female version of the character Vortex from the cartoon, but that's just me pulling for a reach because she wears green. Nonetheless, seeing a common enemy, at some point of the movie they all try to get vengeance when the Power Corps is under attack, and here we get this epic fight scene between both gangs. Koga eventually gets his hands on both medallions, which causes him to unleash his shadow form by splitting into two warriors, and you know what? They actually look pretty cool. Billy and Jimmy wind up fighting them in a mediocre display of choreography but are unmatched. However, at some point, they miraculously get their hands on both pieces of the medallion, so when they combine it together, they're transformed into their red and blue martial arts skis, which for the 90s, I will say, looks decent, though it does suck that they wear it in the last 10 minutes of the movie. Moving on, they discover Koga's weakness is light, they kick his ass in a weak climactic battle, and the cops come and arrest everyone. The end. Honestly, this movie had potential. The story was pretty different compared to the games, but if you're looking for nostalgia, this isn't it. I do, however, like the costumes and concept of the villains, but again, it wasn't appreciated enough due to its cheesy dialogues and lack of proper martial arts choreography or the apocalyptic punk rock theme. The acting is okay, and the movie does keep you engaged enough to enjoy it as a time pass. I don't think it's quite a terrible movie per se, but is it a great movie or anything like that resembling the awesomeness of the video games? Don't hold your breath. There is one scene, however, during the Mohawk invasion, where you actually see the Double Dragon's arcade cabinet in the background to pay homage to the game. And this helps remind the audience you're watching Double Dragon in case you got bored or even made it this far. Cause let's be real, if they hadn't included that scene, you would think you're watching some half-baked film that offers little to nothing. Overall, this is one of those movies where I didn't even know existed, and frankly, I don't even know if people knew it exists, and even if they did, they probably forgot about it. And I don't blame them because the story is quite weird and the characters are forgettable. I don't necessarily have an attachment to this film, nor did I ever watch it as a kid. It wasn't until I got way older and learned about its presence. But it is a 90s movie after all, as it involves martial arts and being loosely based on the iconic video game from the 80s. That's more than enough reasons for me to enjoy it for what it is. Simple, cheesy, and mediocre. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Double Dragon, and I'll talk to you all next episode.